What is going on, YouTube? This is Jim back with another video, and I want to talk to you guys about Gears of War 5 Escape Mode. Now, one of the coolest perks of Xbox Fan Fest is that you have that first night prior to the official opening of E3, which would be Monday night here in the good old US of A, in which they open up all the games at the Microsoft Theater just for Fan Fest participants. So tons and tons of game stations for Gears of War 5 and Halo Master Chief Collection on PC, and a lot of the new indie games that they announced, such as Supermarket Shriek or some of the beta stuff that they're working on, Sea of Thieves, just as an example. But the fact that you can walk in and sit down and play these games before anybody else with a really minimal line, considering what E3 ultimately evolves into, is a really cool thing. And I immediately, as soon as we got into the Microsoft Theater on Monday night, my wife and I immediately beeline for Gears of War 5 because I'm a huge Gears head and because it was the first thing we saw. All right. And I'm really glad that I got to play it. I actually played it a total of 4 times during the Fan Fest, either during that night or when we went back on Thursday to kill some time. We went back to the Microsoft Theater and left the E3 conference proper, went over to the Mixer Dome and got to play another round. Now, the really cool thing about this is that I got to play on those sweet, sweet Elite Series 2 controllers. They didn't have the back paddles, but if you guys play a lot of Gears, you know that the pedals don't really work very well for Gears of War, since you're primarily focusing on your A, which is your roadie run, and that you can't free look while you are in roadie run. So not a lot of competitive advantage there, but playing on the Elite Controller Series 2 was, I love that controller. I can't wait for it. Now, Escape Mode is a 3-person mode where you're playing against the computer, PvE, and what you're trying to do is escape. And it's really, really fun. The only thing I couldn't determine is whether or not the map was procedurally generated or it was the same map every time. From what I can tell, it looked to be the same map, but ultimately every game plays out differently. Here's how it starts. You enter the game with nothing, and you set off a bomb, and the bomb slowly explodes and begins releasing this poison venom cloud that if you get caught in, you're going to get knocked and you're ultimately going to die. So there is a race against the clock in which you have to progress through the level. But as you walk through the level, you have to explore different parts of the map. It's one of those fog of war, so there's no map. You have to walk, and it slowly fills in your map for you to show you new areas to explore. You have to open up doors. I didn't feel any puzzle, or I didn't see any puzzle elements there, so there wasn't anything like, okay, you had to go get a code and then open up a door or anything like that. Although I think that'd be a really cool touch. Everything was just press a button, open the door, but you didn't know it was on the other side. You could hear grubs and juvies and that sort of thing on the other side of the door, so you knew obviously the baddies were coming, but ultimately you didn't know what you were going to get into. But again, there's this venomous cloud is pushing you through the map. You have to keep progressing, and you have to find weapons and scavenge for weaponry and ammo to progress through the game. Now, what's really cool is that each of the 3 characters you play with has a unique ability. The girl character, and I don't know their names, but it doesn't matter. I'm sure they're going to be explained further in the Gears of War 5 campaign. The girl character is a really powerful melee attacker, and as she attacks with melee, she builds up this meter. When the meter is full, she unleashes this electric chain of sorts that is like an electric nunchuck that she can whip around and destroy most enemies at melee range with relative ease. This is really useful early on because you're not going to have many guns, and for a large portion of the game, you probably will just be running around with a snub. Once you start to find any kind of automatic weapon like a hammer burst or a it's not an automatic weapon, but like a shotgun or something, you're not going to get a lot of ammo for it. So it's not like you could just go ham and just run and gun through this map. You're going to have to kind of work together as a team and use all these abilities together. And that's why her ability is so useful early game. You're also going to get another character who can put down a deployable shield. And the really cool thing about the shield is that you can shoot through, but enemies can't shoot back. It's really nice for some of these modes where You're going to find you're in these areas where there's wide open spaces. You're going to be getting flanked from multiple positions. And a lot of times the enemies are going to be shooting at you with long shots or with torque bows from way across the map. And you're not going to be able to even get near them because you're going to have to zigzag through the map to get to them. So this shield is a really useful ability to kind of reorient yourself and make sure that the team is all together, and also protect any down teammates so you can revive them easily. The last character has an ability where he drops an ammo box which replenishes all the ammo of all the characters inside this radius very slowly. This is exceptionally important towards mid to end game when the enemies start coming fast and furious, and you're going to start getting the guns that you like, the Boltocs and, you know, nice big assault rifles, that sort of thing, but you're going to run out of bullets. And the nice thing is this guy is going to be able to get you back in the fight. Every character gets more ability by meleeing other enemies and by marking enemies and just participating in gunfights. You're going to slowly earn points. And that's kind of the gist of the flow of the game as you work your way through. Now, what was really cool is they threw us for a couple zingers on a couple things. Number one is guns have damage indicators on them. So as you're shooting an enemy, you'll see the numbers pop. You know, like you're doing you're like doing shots with the machine gun, to be like 3333333, or whatever the damage number is. It's just a really nice RPG-esque touch, and you can really see how much headshots do when the damage is really bright, bold blue, or you know, it's like bright red or bright orange, showing, hey, you did like 500 damage. And it really kind of enforces that you want to take more headshots when possible, and I thought that was a really cool feature. The other cool feature is that the enemies progressively get harder and come at you with more and more weaponry. So early on, you're going to be fighting against some of the DBs that we saw from Gears of War 4, the robots, that are going to just have basic weaponry. But as you start progressing more, you're going to have to go against mulchers. You're going to have to go against this new enemy. I'm not sure the type, if they even said the name or not yet. But there's this new enemy that has a two-handed melee. It looks like a giant bone spear or like a giant bone sword. And he cleaves it very, very slowly, but it does an incredible amount of damage. But the cool thing is after you kill him, you can pick it up and use it. And one of the most satisfying things is setting up a perfect flank where you're running around the backside with this big two-handed weapon and just dropping bombs and just absolutely obliterating everything in your path with this giant weapon. It's just a really satisfying feeling. Along the way, there are different corridors and different pathways. Some of them are dead ends that lead you just to nothing and you have to loop back. But exploration is key here because you may find weapon caches or ammo caches or incendiary grenades or shock grenades, different things that help you progress through the combat. So it does pay to explore, but because the smoke, that venomous gas is coming towards you, you can't wait around too long. So it's that risk reward of like, do we have more time to explore? Or is it really important we need to keep moving? Because some of these firefights are really intense. You're going to be hunkered down behind cover, slowly working your way up. And some of these enemies hit pretty hard, particularly when you have a mulcher or somebody who's set up as a beat on you guys. It's really difficult to take down. And if your character's special meters aren't used at the right time, it could spell disaster, particularly if you don't have that ammo or the shield or that melee for when all hell breaks loose and you just got to run in and just start swinging for your life. And that is a really, really fun mechanic. Once you get to the very end, you have to fight. You run outside to the helipad for evacuation, and these two giant metal doors slowly begin to close, and enemies are pouring out, and juvies and some grubs and mulchers and everything are running at you. So you have to concentrate all your firepower, and it's some really intense gameplay right to the wire as enemies are just pouring through this gate, and you have to just stay alive. I really, really enjoyed it. Most matches take you anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes. There is definitely a hard cap, so to speak, in terms of how long before the poisonous gas reaches you and you die. Although they definitely had it doped down because a lot of people playing it weren't familiar with Gears or were press, who doesn't really have a lot of gameplay experience, I guess. So that part of it seemed to be doped down, but they did show us, although we didn't get to play with it because they always set up the game for you before you tried, there are modifiers that will give you better rewards. So enemies will be harder, will only drop certain types of weapons, or you only have certain types of you know, maybe you can only use your special once or whatever. So there are modifiers to increase the difficulty. And it was only that one map that we saw. I would love to see more maps. I would love to see procedurally generated maps. And I would love to see more puzzle elements where maybe each character had some unique ability that allowed them to open doors or hack computers or do something that kind of required a little bit more co-op. Because ultimately what devolved, once we all kind of figured out what we were doing, everybody would scatter and kind of run and do their own thing. And then it's like, oh, I think I found the right way. And then we'd all kind of return back together, as where in the gameplay trailer that they showed and in all of the press footage, it looks like everybody's fighting shoulder to shoulder. And I think that mode, you know, forcing people to play that way would make the game infinitely more rewarding. So I'm a huge fan of the Gears 5 escape mode. I had an absolute blast with it. I cannot wait to dive into this a little bit more when the game comes out. And I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it because it's those quick hit 10-15 minute games where you're really on the edge of your seat as you're fighting your way through wave after wave of increasingly difficult enemies that I think is going to hopefully keep a lot of the replayability in there that I think was kind of lost in some of the Gears of War 4 modes. So with that, I'm going to close out this video. I hope you guys enjoyed my deep dive of the Gears of War 5 escape mode. This game is going to be legit. It's coming out on Xbox Game Pass and Xbox Game Pass for PC. And if you have Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which is the PC version, and the Gold and the console version, you're going to actually get to play the game a couple days early. So if you haven't already checked out Game Pass, I strongly encourage you to do so. And this is not a sponsored video by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just a super fan of the service and I can see the value in it. And while you're at it, consider upgrading to Ultimate if you have a PC as well, because you're going to get a ton of different games to play. And getting it a couple days early, I think, is going to be a great thing for everybody because we just want this game now. So the sooner we can get our hands on it, the better. With that, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.